Good morning and hello. My name is Anthony Apollon and I am in this year's Coming of Age class. Today's reading comes from the Hebrew Scriptures, the book of Micah, chapter 6. The prophet Micah lived and preached 2,700 years ago in the 8th century before the Common Era in Jerusalem. He witnessed the takeover of Israel by the Assyrian Empire. Micah sang pleas for the righteous mercy, reminding Israel's leaders to do right by the poor, the widows, the sick, and the orphans, to care for the elderly and those with physical disabilities. The passage shares what Micah believes is essential to restore his nation and to restore individual souls to bring us into a closer alignment with what is healthy, holy, and to which enables human thriving. Hear what the Lord says. Rise, plead your case before the mountains, and let the hills hear your voice. Hear, you mountains, the controversy of the Lord, and you enduring foundations of the earth. O my people, what have I done to you? In what have I wearied you? Answer me. For I brought you from the land of Egypt, and redeemed you from the house of slavery. And I sent before you Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. With what shall I come before the Lord, and bow myself before God on high? Shall I become before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has told you, O mortal, what is good. For what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God?
What does the Lord require of you? What does the Lord require of you? What does the Lord require of you? I want to know. I want to
What does the holy require? There are many ways for us to rephrase Micah's question. What does the Spirit need? How do we serve the good? How do we live with honor? How should we live to avoid bringing suffering to ourselves and others? The prophet Micah was born in the countryside. He went to the city, Jerusalem, to begin a career as a prophet to the court. Yes, prophet was a career path back then. There were literally groups of people who made their living sharing their understanding of righteousness and often the penalties for not doing the right thing with Israel's leaders. To be a prophet of doom and foreboding like Micah, it meant risking not only criticism, but one's safety. You know, not everyone takes criticism as well as our current president. Micah spends much of his time scolding the leaders of Judah for failing to take care of the poor, the widow, the sick, and the orphan. And yet he offers us a simple cure for social and personal health, a recipe for peace and love. Do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with your God. Today we find ourselves in social isolation, a global human undertaking for the good of all. It's a time of stress and loss, yes, but hopefully also a time to reevaluate our lives. The breaking of our routines allows us to pause and to ponder how and if we should return to the old ways of life when the crisis is over. Micah first tells us to do justice. What is justice? Justice isn't just punishing. It's not only enforcing the rules, standing in defense of the weak, or upholding truth. Justice is those things. But justice is best seen as an orientation of life. How do we live, love, act, speak, even purchase over the course of our lives? This is an orientation of justice. And in justice, it's important to remember that we all make mistakes. We all fall short of our mark or the marks others set for us. But so long as the main arc of our lives bends towards what we know to be the good, we trod the path of the just. Examples of doing justice right now in this crisis include the New England Patriots of the NFL, who sent their team's plane to China to bring 1.1 million masks for healthcare providers. They even gave 300,000 of them to the state of New York. Another is the Hollywood garment industry, quickly retooling their sewing machines to turn out masks, gowns, and other supplies for healthcare workers. Next, Micah asks us to love kindness. What does it mean to love kindness, an intangible quality? Perhaps it means we prioritize kindness. We make kindness the currency of our encounters and our communities. Kindness in our demeanor, our speech, our consideration. Kindness means patience with the mistakes of others. Kindness is empathy for the struggles that others suffer. And kindness is seeing the beauty and hope in others when they cannot. But there's more. Kindness can also mean setting boundaries and honoring them. It may include saying no, or even saying, "It's time for you to leave," or asking someone for help. Today, kindness can mean letting go of what we once thought we needed to live. Kindness means realizing we now have different ways of being present, so we need to be gentle with ourselves as we learn this new way of being and relating. It is a righteous act to love being kind. Human life is precious and often very difficult, so we should lead with kindness. As our colleague Rabbi David Greenstein shares, everything we do to keep living and supporting life these days is a sacred task. This is loving kindness. Finally, Micah exhorts us to walk humbly with our God. This notion speaks to us as universalists. Micah says to walk with your God, not with the God or with that God, but your God. Your understanding of what divinity is, of what is ultimate. Our faith celebrates this multitude of images of what God is and what God is not as the precious silk out of which we weave our community. And Micah invites us to walk with the holy. And this walking implies a relationship. What is holy is available to us only when we lay down our burdens and follow, when we attend to the divine of our understanding. Walking with our divine, we get to know how to live more authentically here on earth. And Micah tells us to walk humbly with our God. Perhaps Micah means for us to refrain from pride and from boasting, to be gentle in our expression and reflection. In the presence of the divine, we become humbled and therefore more apt to be kind and to do justice. We all have encountered people walking through life with an overabundance of certainty, yes? Those who seldom entertain doubts that there is another way to understand the world. Sometimes you have been those people. I know I have. And Micah declares that that is not the way to peace. This humility can be a hallmark of our faith, because no one of us contains all of the truth. We are called to examine, encourage, and explore the intuitions and imaginings of one another's spiritual search, knowing they can only enrich our own. And in this time of COVID-19, I must say that I continue to be humbled almost hourly. I'm humbled that my judgment is not as reliable. I'm humbled that time passes so differently. I'm humbled that I must wear gloves and masks just to buy food. I'm humbled that too often I get upset by things that never would have upset me before. I'm humbled that too often I do not speak as clearly or as gently as I should. I'm humbled that everything I thought I knew, I have to examine anew. Humbled. I'm humbled that every time I accept that I can't believe that this is all happening, that another wave of I can't believe that this is all happening crashes into me. Grief, sorrow, and fear, they come in waves, just crashing onto the shores of our consciousness, and they drive me to tears. I'm humbled that I struggled to find rest and to be useful. I'm humbled that my ability to focus long enough on the most important things seems fleeting, because so many new things need to be learned and accomplished. But I'm also humbled by moments like this, as we connect with one another as a congregation. You help assure me that we can get through this, that the different reality now emerging from the future's horizon is something where we will find life and love, where together we will once again thrive and share, maybe even in person. The love that we share among us, the love that you continue to shower on Reverend Anya and I, they are lifelines. You have buoyed me more than you can ever know. Thank you. Now I'd like to offer these questions for you to reflect on, journal, sing, draw, however you process the deep things. The question: in this time of new schedules, of staying home and self-isolating, which of these three do you need to focus on most? Doing justice, loving kindness, or walking humbly with your notion of what is holy? How will you serve that need, embody that journey, and bring comfort to your soul?